Hello there. Hope you're well. Let me strike a pose. 'Cause it's about
to go down.
Let's take a walk down to the yard, 'cause I got a lot of stuff that I need to discard. Wanna help the earth? Try this out. I wanna tell you what compost is all about. It doesn't cost much, it's not really hard. For me, I just needed a pit in my yard. It may sound gross when you hear it at first, but at the end of the day, you're helping out Mother Earth. It's compost. I love compost. We need compost. So I wrote this random song. Hopefully it's not too long. It's done now. Yeah. Hey guys, Tasha here. So good to see you. If you're new to this channel, I talk about minimalism, money, real estate, and basically whatever else tickles my fancy. For example, today, as you could tell by my over-the-top musical opening, this video is all about compost. My hope is that through this video, you'll get to see that anyone can do compost. It's pretty awesome and it's a great way to help the environment.
So, what exactly is compost?
Glad you asked. Compost is decomposed organic material. You can add it to soil in order to help plants grow. Fun fact, did you know that food scraps and yard waste make up more than 30% of what we throw away?
But it could be composted instead?
That's almost 1/3 of our trash that can be repurposed. That's like 65 more million tons of unnecessary waste that is sent to the landfill every year.
It's not really a fun fact. It's kind of sad, actually. I shouldn't have said fun fact.
But anyway, let's talk about the benefits of composting. It enriches the soil. It helps to retain moisture. It reduces the need for man-made fertilizers, like, chemical additives and all that good stuff.
Not good stuff. It's not good stuff.
It reduces methane emissions from landfills, thus lowering our carbon footprint. Some personal benefits that we've seen from composting is that our trash is way less smelly, especially if you are plant-based. You really aren't throwing away many food scraps. We have usually about 1 bag of trash per week because we are able to throw a lot into the compost. And just in general, we've become a lot more mindful of our waste. We do our best to recycle. We also do the compost. It's a lot less trash than we used to have. Okay. So let's talk about what can be composted, okay? There are comprehensive lists available at epa.gov. I'll link it below, but I'll also just give you an idea. So we've got fruit and veggie scraps. Those are pretty obvious. Eggshells, coffee grounds, and filters. That's a big one because before we used to just throw out our coffee grounds when we were done with them after we did our espresso and everything. But now we can pop that straight into the compost. Tea bags, nutshells, grass clippings, after you mow the lawn, leaves, fireplace ashes. Oh, and one that I only recently realized is dryer and vacuum cleaner lint. Yeah, you can also, because it's the fibers from clothing or it's just dirt, right? It's dirt from the ground and you can put dirt in the compost, so that's cool. Here's some things that you can include in your compost pile, but you have to take note that these will take longer to decompose, so you might need to separate them or put them somewhere else so that they can have more time to
roast.
Hair and fur. So I cut my family's hair. I can put the hair in the compost. It sounds a little gross, but just give it time. It'll decompose. It's actually very nutritious, the hair. Don't eat it directly though. For the ground. It's the nitrogen. There's nitrogen and things. Shredded newspaper, paper bags, non-glossy paper you can put in the compost. Cardboard, egg cartons, toilet paper rolls. Used clothes that are made from cotton, linen, silk, wool, natural fabrics. Pine cones and needles, paper, but it's best if you shred it first, corn cobs, old dry pasta, Wood chips, sawdust, twigs, and pits from mangoes, avocados, peaches. Yeah, those take a while. But you can put them in there. Sometimes though, they like grow. Depending on your climate. But yeah, you just stick it way down there. On the other hand, here are some things that you should not be putting in your compost pile under any circumstances. Definitely don't put animal products like meat, bones, dairy, fish skins, unless you want to make some new critter friends. It's really not a good idea. It's very smelly. Those are not things that you should be putting in the compost, because your compost should not be stank. It shouldn't be stank if you're doing it right. Don't put diseased plants in there, because then the disease can just go into the compost and then it'll spread to other plants when you put the compost on the soil for other plants. So you don't want to do that. Pet droppings, you don't want to do that. They could have parasites, there's bacteria, there's pathogens, and if that gets into the plants and then it goes back onto the food,
that's just gross.
You don't want to be eating that. That's harmful to humans. Like ugh. Yard trimmings that were treated with pesticides, that's a no-go, because then that's going to make its way back into your stomach when you eat the fruits of your labor, literally. Okay, let's talk about different vessels you can use for composting depending on the scale. You know, like for us, we have a whole big pit in our yard, but there are smaller options, you know, indoor options, especially if you're not like on that big of a scale. So you can get an indoor bin. There's plenty available. You can look on Amazon. They come with carbon filters, which help to prevent the smelliness. You can place it on your counter, under your sink. You could also get an outdoor enclosed bin. They have the kind that you can like even turn over, and that really helps in the decomposition process. Like I said earlier, we have an outdoor compost pile. It's in a place that has some shade. We also do have an indoor bin to collect the scraps, and then every few days we go outside and dump it in the big bin. The only thing is, with a big pile, you got to make sure that you flip it regularly. So you don't want your food scraps, like your newly dumped food scraps, just hanging out, you know, out in the opening. After you get a good amount, you should cover it with dirt from the compost pile that's already decomposed. Here are some caveats. Be mindful when you're dumping your indoor compost into your outdoor pile, if you have one, especially in the summer, because some fruit flies like to hang out in the compost pile, and if you haven't turned it in a timely manner and you put some more scraps on there every day,
just make sure your mouth's not open.
That may or may not have happened to someone I know, so just keep the mouth closed.
You're welcome.
Make sure also, if you do have an indoor compost pot, that you wash it out regularly with warm soap and water. You can also soak the carbon filters in warm water and then let them air dry. This helps to keep odors at bay, and you want to make sure you're not letting the food scraps touch the filters, because then it just gets all gross and icky and it defeats the whole purpose. Let me just talk a little bit about ways you can use your finished compost. Obviously, your finished compost, you can mix it into the soil where you're planting your veggies and your fruits. There's definitely a lot of resources online with regards to ratios, but I'll at least give you some ideas. There's also compost tea. This is not for human consumption, but you can mix some water with compost in like a watering can. You can just pop some compost in there, stir it around, and then use the watering can to water your plants. I do this a lot with my indoor plants especially. If you don't have a garden outside or any indoor plants, you can also check with your town to see if there are local compost heaps that you could donate it to a farm or a school garden, community garden. See if your neighbor's garden and if they want some compost. You can also put it on Craigslist. People are in the market for compost, apparently. If you don't want to compost and you just have a bunch of veggie scraps, farmers markets might have some drop-off points for things like that. So yeah, that's the gist of composting. Basically how we are able to do it in our lives. It's really helped us to cut down considerably on our waste output these past few years, and we no longer have to buy like synthetic fertilizers or things like that. Do you already compost? If so, let me know in the comments below. Or if you have other resources for either being able to donate your compost or your unused food scraps, please, I'd love to hear from you down below. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you got some value or some laughs out of it. If you wouldn't mind pressing that like button down below, that will really help me in the algorithm. And that's all I got for now. Till next time, I'll see you. It's done now. Yeah.